and he is nice enough to join us right now on the Michael Kay Show. Kevin, how you doing?
I'm doing good, but I had to laugh when you said a member of the media.
That's right. How's that sitting
right.
with you?
It just sounded very...
You like it so far?
Yeah, no, it's fun. When I decided to retire, I knew I didn't want to step away from the game completely. I love it too much. I enjoy staying abreast of the new trends and things that are football as it changes. I like to stay abreast of those things. So this, I knew, would force me to do that. So I also knew that full time, I dropped my work. No.
Well, Kevin, we have a bad line, so Ryan Hurley is going to call you back so we get you on a better line. So, again, Kevin Gilbride, a new NFL analyst for NBC SN, and we are really going to delve into what makes Eli great, what made him great in Kevin's offense, and how different Kevin's offense is to the offense that Ben McAdoo has. And, that's going to be telling to see how far the Giants can go this year, how Eli grasped this offense, how quickly he grasped it, and how quickly they could make that offensive line what they need to make it. They need to make that a fortress so Eli Manning could have time in the pocket to get rid of the football. That is not his strength, moving around, eluding, running. That's not Eli. It's just not what he is. Now, he has some elusiveness. He can get a pass off, but if he's going to be constantly pressured, he is going to throw interceptions. That's all there is to it. And that's the scary thing about this preseason. Now, we have Kevin back, hopefully on a better line. Kevin, what we've been talking about for most of the show is Eli has not looked good in this new offense. And I've seen quotes from you where you say he's going to get it. But let me ask you this. How different is this than from what you ran with Eli his entire career?
There's certain elements, quite frankly, that are very, very similar. I mean, when I started in the league 26 years ago now, at Houston, we used a combination of run-and-shoot principles, and then when we were in our more conventional offense with two backs and a tight end, or two tight ends and two wideouts, we really used the West Coast offense. Our receiver coach had come directly from the staff at San Francisco 49ers under Bill Walsh, so we employed many of those same principles. So I've carried those things with me, throughout my entire career. So I would say at least a third to 50% of the offense, the three-step game, the intermediate game is very, very similar. Now, what's different is the nomenclature, the way it's what the terms are, the way it's called, the emphasis upon when you see this coverage pre-snap, we want you to go to this play as opposed to that play. Those things will be different from what I taught. The thing that's dramatically different is the vertical stretch read principle that we employed probably a third of the time to maybe 40% of the time, which was, to be quite honest with you, was really our best stuff. And that was the stuff that you saw a Steve Smith or a Victor Cruz take to so very naturally. So that's the only thing that's different. Now, the irony of that is that really required more sophistication because it offered the receivers much greater latitude whether to go deep, post it, run through on a seam, or set it down. So it required greater discipline between the quarterback and receiver seeing it the same way. In theory, or hypothetically, you would think with that eliminated that everything else actually should be simpler and easier once you get by the discomfort of calling it, what is a foreign language to you, and also the emphasis on different reads. In other words, you're taught to go A, B, C the way I did it, and maybe he's going C, B, A the way they're doing it now. So I think, in fairness to everybody, there's a lot being thrown at him. From what I could tell, the whole offense was thrown at him, which is not an uncommon teaching, approach, the whole method. So when that happens, you're going to be swimming now. Your head's going to be swimming. Everything's going to appear disjointed. There's going to be no fluidity, no coordination. But when you come back and you break it down now in much more specific terms and you really focus in on the nuances and the subtleties of what it is you're trying to get accomplished, I would expect there to be a dramatic improvement. And that's why I said what I did. I really do think that, and that coupled with the fact that I do think they've added some parts which needed to be added. Certainly those two running backs look far better than anything that we had last year in Jennings and Williams. I know that they've added a lot of different bodies to the offensive line. Whether or not they're the right bodies or not, that remains to be proven. I thought the addition of the wide receiver who hasn't been there but should be a playmaker for them should help. So I thought that there was, from the outside looking in, it looked like they were trying to take the right steps. And I know everyone's frustrated and everyone looks at it exasperated. And the only thing I worry about is you do reach a point where you begin to lose your confidence and you begin to question what you're doing, and hopefully they have not reached that point. This past game, at least, they showed, some progress, some improvement, not nearly where it needs to be, but at least it was a step in the right direction, and I think they needed that desperately.
We're talking with Kevin Gilbride, NBC Sports Network, NFL analyst, former offensive coordinator for the Giants. We had on Steve Young. We have him on every Monday, Kevin. And he said this offense that Eli's trying to digest will take a full year for him to really own it. Do you believe that that's true?
Again, if you were starting not with total unfamiliarity with some of the principles of the West Coast, I would say that is reasonable to think that it's going to take that long to get it at the highest level of efficiency. But again, so much of it, to be frank with you, are things that have been done before by this offense, not just Eli, but by those receivers and by the running backs and the offensive linemen that were there. So that's why I keep going back to, I think a lot of it is just language. A lot of it is points of emphasis that are different. And as you know, sometimes when you're starting from scratch, you can pick something up much more easily than if you've ingrained doing it one way and now you're trying to do it something that's different. It's much, much more difficult. So I think they're all kind of struggling with that a little bit. But they do look like, I saw Eli even the game previous when they didn't, he didn't complete a pass. He was making all the calls. He was directing the offense. It looked like the old Eli, at least intellectually, if not physically. I do think that anytime you make the transition from something that, again, people have to realize now, we owned every offensive record there is in Giant history. And we put two guys in the Pro Bowl at receiver that hadn't been done since 1960, doing it the other way. So it is a gamble. There's no question there's a gamble. It was a risk that somebody made that decision. They wanted to do that. After I left, this was the perfect time to do that. Because I care so much about those players and those coaches, I'm praying that they're right.
All right, a couple of quick hits. Fans are starting to panic. Some fans are calling in Ryan Nassib should start. That's how ridiculous it's getting right now. But Kevin, he had a terrible season last year. So is it reasonable to even present the possibility that Eli could be on the downside?
Outside looking in, I can understand where people could arrive at that conclusion. Just remember this now. He's thrown maybe not that many interceptions, but he's thrown those numbers are very close to that previous years and bounced back, including the year 2011 that we won the Super Bowl. 2010 was very close to that. So he's done it before. I do not think he physically is on the downside. I know that in terms of commitment and preparedness and determination to do well, he's as good as he's ever been. In fact, if anything, he's even more fired up having talked to him. So I think it's just a matter of, getting comfortable enough that he can perform naturally so that he can let his skill set come to the forefront, and I think he'll be fine. I just, again, as I've mentioned on numerous occasions, I think that what happened with the offensive line last year and really has been in the process over the last 3 or 4 years, the deterioration of performance affects him dramatically because he's not a guy that can solve his problems with his feet. He's always solved it with his intellect and with his arm, but that required sufficient protection, and that was not taking place. Again, that doesn't excuse some of the decisions that he's made. He'd be the first one to tell you that there's some things he should have done differently, and he wishes he had him back. But a guy like him, like most quarterbacks, need sufficient protection, and that's really going to be, to me, that's the thing you got to look at in the early part of the season.
They've also thrown this, and we're talking with Kevin Gilbride here on the Michael K. Show. They've thrown this number. They want him to complete 70% of his passes, which he's never done. Is that a possibility? He's never been a pinpoint passer, Kevin. So is 70% a realistic shot?
I don't think so. I've been asked that question now ever since that figure was thrown out. I thought that, they are going to throw it a little bit shorter, so the percentages naturally should rise a little bit. Again, I would think that a very laudable, very realistic goal would be if he got to the mid-60s. I thought that would be tremendous. But again, that's only part of it. Statistically, doing it that way, it's really the productivity of your entire offense. And where we've been in the past, the Giants, very, very unique and successful has been in those big plays and those 2-minute drives, and I saw a number of those plays surfacing in that 2-minute drive just before the half. So that was encouraging to me, and I think they don't want to take that away. And I think that area, those seam balls up the to the tight ends, hopefully somebody will show up there, or some of those wideouts in that inside part of the field, and the deep ball. Those are things that he still is very special doing. So I think they're going to throw underneath. I think if he could get to the mid-60s, that'd be great. But again, it's going to come down to the totality of the package, and that includes big plays as well.
Also, Kevin, we keep talking about Eli making an adjustment. Ben McAdoo has never called plays in the NFL. What kind of adjustment is that going to be for that? I mean, I think he's 35, 36 years old. I mean, how difficult is that going to be for him to call plays?
Well, it's a big adjustment for anybody, and we all go through it the first time. Now, I was 38 when I did it, when I came to 1989, but we had a terrific team, and we ran the playoffs 7 straight years at Houston, and we were number 1 and 2 in offense every year. So I was blessed to have some great players and great coaches that I was with. But there's no question there is a growth process that needs to take place. There's a learning curve, and I remember distinctly Jerry Glanville was the coach who hired me, saying, we'd heard all these great things. You did a great job in the interview. I've been very impressed in your ability to teach our offense to the players, but I'm going to judge you by how well you adapt on game day. How well can you adjust from here's what we were going to do, and then all of a sudden the defense is changing all the things that statistically they had shown on the computer printouts. Can you adapt the offense, modify it that quickly to give our team, our offensive unit, a chance to be successful? And to me, that's the real challenge. The game planning's part of it, but the ability to adjust the plays on the fly is really, really a challenge that you have to experience, you have to grow into.
Now, Kevin, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but I want to clear up maybe could be a misperception out there. A lot of people think, well, their offense was so bad last year, and Mara was obviously very, very upset about it. You said you've retired. Did they gently try to push you out and say this might be a good time to retire?
No one ever said that. I heard some of the comments that John Mara said, which really bothered me. But it was said, and this was a commitment I had made to my wife a long time ago. I'd said to her, I wanted to get another head job, and a couple of teams in the NFL were talking to me as we were going through the 2011 pursuit of the Super Bowl, and they decided not to wait. They right up to the very end, they were telling me, yes, we're waiting. So I just said to her, give me one more year. Well, 2012, I didn't get anything, so I said to her one more time, give me one more year. And, of course, we had the disastrous year in 2013. So I said, it's time. I'm going, and I left with great memories of all the things that we accomplished there, and certainly some great associations with the players and coaches that I'll always treasure.
What was the thing that Mara said the most that bothered you?
Well, there was a comment made that it was clearly broken, and that was such, very obvious and very disappointing to hear it said. And, we had a defense that had been 31st the year before and 27th the year we won the Super Bowl, and to have something being said about our offense, which had been top 10, I should say, for the previous 5 or 6 years, it was hurtful to hear. But hey, it's all part of it. We're all big boys. We all know when we get into this thing, things are going to be said that you wish weren't said, but you deal with it.
All right, let me ask you about another team. I know you're following all the teams right now. The Rams lose their starting quarterback. Sean Hill is the backup. Can he grasp it and play to the same level as Bradford?
Well, you're hoping. I mean, it certainly, if the past is any indication of how he's going to do, he's been a journeyman quarterback. I would certainly expect that he'll know what to do and what's expected of him. I do think he'll He'll try to implement the game plan that is going to be asked of him. I don't think they're going to have to make tremendous adjustments. His style of play is not going to be dramatically different than Bradford's. Did he have the upside of Bradford? There's many who were very suspicious of what that upside of Bradford was. Now, I happened to see him, as we all did, Giant fans, his rookie year, and I thought he looked like he was going to be a terrific player that first year when St. Louis came to play us when I was with the Giants his rookie year. Steve Spagnuolo was still the head coach. Then through injuries, change of coaches, things just not have panned out for him. So I think they've got, the addition of Kenny Britt, I think, was huge to them, because I thought all their terrific receivers were undersized, extraordinarily quick guys inside. I thought that they had finally the go-to guy on the outside. So I really was thinking that this offense was finally going to have a chance to take off. So I'm very disappointed, because I wanted to see what Bradford could do with Britt and all those inside receivers, the two guys he got from West Virginia that can just fly. And, of course, their defensive front is as good as there is in football.
Kevin Gilbride is with us. Before I let you go, and this wasn't your decision, but I want to ask you finally one more thing about the Giants. Was it a wise move to bring in an offense with such different nomenclature for a quarterback that's only known one way? Should they have gone out and gotten somebody who talked in Kevin Gilbride's language to make it easier for Eli?
Well, that's up to somebody else. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, Michael. That's not my decision. People are paid a lot more money than I was paid to make that decision. All I can say is I'm rooting for those guys. I'm pulling for them. I believe that Eli is going to be fine. I really do. I would just ask the Giant fans, which I know is very difficult, just hang in there. Be as patient as you possibly can. I think they're going to get it done. I think those running backs are going to be a huge addition. Not only are they good runners, but they'll actually block. So that'll be a significant difference from last year. So I just think there's a chance for them to be a pretty good football team. And I don't think that division is a particularly strong one. I think the Cowboys are going to really struggle on defense. I really wonder, even though I thought the Redskins were going to be much better on defense with the addition of Jason Hatcher inside to complement their two outside rushers, I'm just not sure where that offense is going to be right now. So again, if as good as Philly is on offense, I do not think they're very good on defense. I thought we should have beaten them both times last year. We beat them once. We should have beaten them the first time we played them. So I think the Giants have a reasonable chance to contend for a playoff berth. I really do.
Good stuff. Really great stuff, Kevin. Thank you for joining us. Good luck in this new part of your career with Pro Football Talk, and hope we could talk to you again.
Sounds good, Michael. Thank you very much.